Hey everyone, I'm DJ. Welcome back. Today, as you can see, I wanted to go over a lot of the gear that I plan on taking on my Appalachian Trail thru hike. So, first up is the backpack. This is the Light AF. I believe it's the Curve 46 liter. I wanted the 46 liter because it has load lifting straps on it. Just in case I needed them, I wanted them to be there. And all kinds of pockets on the side and the back so I can organize my gear a little bit more. And then here on the strap, I have my DJI action camera mount, so I'll be using that a lot on the trail. Next up in the big three is my tent. I have the Six Moon Designs Lunar Solo. It's a trekking pole tent, so I don't need any poles in the tent itself. I just use my trekking poles to end the stakes. It's a pretty light, pretty cheap tent, and I've used it a handful of times now. I like it so far, so we'll see how it holds up over the whole trail. And then I have some MSR groundhog stakes in here. See, then moving on to the sleep system, I have a UGQ quilt. I believe it's the Bandit top quilt. I got a 10 degree because I tend to sleep a little bit cold, especially with quilts, and I'm not sure how cold it's going to actually be, especially like in the Smokies and at the beginning. So I wanted something a little bit warmer, for the start of the trail at least. And then I'm not currently planning on swapping it out at any point. I would like to just be as self-sufficient as I can be throughout the trail, so I don't want to be mailing gear back and forth and everything. So for now, I plan on taking this all the way through. Let's see, to go with that, I have kind of two sleeping pads. This is the Gossamer Gear 1/8 inch one. This really helps to prevent my sleeping pad from sliding around in my tent, and it's a little bit of extra insulation, I guess, but mainly it's to keep my sleeping pad from slipping around and using it as a sit pad. So for multi-purpose and for like 3 ounces, I think it's worth it. For my actual sleep pad, I have the Nemo Tensor All Season. I have tried probably a half dozen different sleeping pads, and I have never been able to sleep on any of them well. This is the only one so far that I've found, so while it's a bit heavier than some of the other ultralight options, this is by far the best one I've ever used. So I'll take the extra weight. Last piece for my sleep gear, I have the Xped Mega Pillow inside of a pillow strap case, I guess, cover. Pillows are notorious for sliding around and falling off the pad and just being impossible to keep in place. So I figured something like this would be really helpful in getting better sleep, and if I don't get good sleep, I'm not going to do well on the trail, so this is important. And as a little bonus, it probably keeps my pillow a bit cleaner, and I can wash this easier than the actual pillow. Moving on to food, I'm going to be bringing a bear canister. This is a Grub Can bear canister. It's their newer version. It's the clear-sided plastic one instead of the carbon fiber composite something or other. I believe it's 6.6 liters, 6.5, something like that. So it should hold all the food that I need. I know a lot of people don't like bringing these because they're heavy, but I really don't want to deal with hanging a bear bag at the end of a long day. That just seems like a huge hassle, and I know most people probably don't even do it right anyway. So I'm just going to stick with this. I don't care that it weighs a lot of, that it weighs 2 pounds, I believe. So this is a convenience thing, and it's protection for me and the bears out there. So I'm doing my part to keep them alive. So moving on to my cooking kitchen kit, I have these little cozies here. My wife took over from making the freezer bag cozies about 8 years ago, I think. And she has made a couple different versions. Some of these are no longer available, some of them are. You can check it out on the website, I guess. But these, if you're not familiar, you put your dehydrated food in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc, a freezer bag. Put some hot water in there, and then you put it in here. And this is an insulated pouch to keep it warm and let it kind of sit there for however long it needs to rehydrate. Weighs very little, and they're really convenient. And then in here, I have my stove and my fuel. So I just have a Snow Peak, I think it's a 700 milliliter pot. Pretty much just going to be used for boiling water, so I don't need any more than that. And then inside, I have the Soto Windmaster stove. However this works. So really wide base, really stable for the pot, and it has the, I always forget what these are called, the little clicker to start the piezo. That's what it is, to start the flame. You don't need a lighter and risk burning yourself. I hate those things. So that's my stove. And as for water, I have the Katadyn Be Free. It comes in a 3-liter bag, but you can kind of use the filter with anything. But I liked this because I can just hang it on a tree branch or a rock or my pack, whatever, and it'll have a tube that comes down to the water bottle, and gravity filters the water for me. It's a lot easier than squeezing those bottles over and over. And then in here I have the Canuck Thru bottle, I think it's called. I was using smart water bottles, but these are a lot more environmentally friendly. You don't have all the microplastics and stuff from the disposable water bottles. And I wanted to support a small business, so I got 2 of these actually. Next up, I also have this Hyperlight Gear. I think it's the Versa hip belt pack, going along with my pack earlier. I just wanted to have access to some things easily. I don't have to take off my pack. I don't have to deal with the hip belt pouches that are so small and kind of annoying to get to the zippers. So this can hold a bunch of stuff and has everything that I'm going to need on me at any time. That way, even if I put my pack down, I'll still have this, you know, for emergencies, or if I want to walk around town, look like a tourist, I can have my wallet, you know, things like that. So this would be pretty helpful. All right, moving on to clothes. So the stuff I'll be wearing is this sun hoodie by Evolved Supply Co. and Z-Packs. Super breathable, really nice. It's got the zip in the front. You can't see the zip in the front, so I can air it out a bit too. I'm obviously very light-skinned, so sun protection is really important. And I've even been hiking in like 90+ degrees with this, and yeah, it's hot, but it's not that bad. It's not unbearable. I'll also have a pair of REI pants, again for sun protection, bug protection, and they're pretty light. Again, I don't really mind. To me, the sun protection and everything is more important than being super comfortable, and shorts are not that big of a deal anyway. Then I have 3 pair of Darn Tough socks. I'll be hiking in one, and I'll have 2 extras. I know most people only have 1 extra pair, but I'm going to try to see if it makes a difference with the wet socks and everything, or, you know, again, I really don't care that much about the weight if you haven't been able to tell. So we're going to try 3 pair and see how that goes. And then as for the shoes, I have La Sportiva Wildcats, and then these Ultra Gam Gators to keep out dust and rocks and sticks and everything. I have used at least 2 pairs of these shoes for the past 13 years, I want to say, and they have been phenomenal. I have loved them, so for now I'm going to keep going with them. Why not, you know? Use what works. As for the layering, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do long term, but I'm going to start out with these REI base layers, the legs and on the top, because I don't really know what to expect weather-wise, and I would rather have a couple extra layers just for security. Maybe this is considered packing your fears, but when it comes to cold, that can be really dangerous if it gets down to the teens and single digits and I don't have enough layers. So I'm going to start with these. There's a good chance I'll get rid of them probably after the Smokies, but that's the plan here. And same goes with this. It is a fleece from Lightheart Gear. This thing is super comfortable, really warm, probably actually too warm, so I don't really think I'm going to need it much past the Smokies, but I'm going to start with it just in case, and then kind of see what the weather's like this year, what I'm going to need, and adjust from there. All right, as for insulation that I'm going to be keeping the whole time, I have my down jacket from Feathered Friends. I believe they're out in Seattle. This is a really nice jacket. I really like it. Super warm, packs down relatively small, and weighs a little more than some of the other ones out there, but it's really nice. Really good quality. So I'm going to be keeping this with me the whole time. I know a lot of thru hikers say they keep their down jacket, their puffy, the whole hike. Also from Lightheart Gear, I have my rain jacket. This is a little different from a lot of the rain jackets out there. It is not breathable at all. They don't even try to make that claim. But what it does have is really, really good ventilation. Like it has massive pit zips here that go really, really far. And I'm gonna get wet if it's raining, whether I'm sweating or that the water's coming in anyway. So it really doesn't matter if it's breathable. As long as it keeps me warm, that's the main thing for this. And then other insulation, I'm bringing some gloves. These are Cotopaxi, I think, from REI. I have a wool buff and then just a fleece beanie. I'm probably going to keep these the whole time just because, you know, it can get a little chilly sometimes and it's nice to have some extra things like this. And I sleep in the beanie a lot, so yeah, good all around warm weather gear. All right, some other things I'll be taking. I have this Cole headwear hat and these Gooder sunglasses. These are pretty standard. They'll be with me for a while. And then for camp clothes, I have these Z-Packs camp shoes. They are incredibly thin, which means they're not very comfortable on rocks and roots. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep these for too long. We'll try them out though. I think getting to air out your feet when you get to camp is nice, especially if they're really wet from river crossings or just lots of sweat and everything. So I think this will be good, but I'm willing to try getting rid of these if they don't turn out very well. And sleep clothes, I'm going to be keeping in this little pod from 6 Moons Designs. I got a 3-pack of them, so I have a couple things in here. I'll be just bringing some extra socks to sleep in, and then a lightweight shirt and some shorts. I think clean sleep clothes are really important, and just be really nice to change into something clean after a long day of hiking. All right, we're getting down to the end. So I have a ShamWow as my towel. This will be really helpful for wiping down condensation in my tent because it's a single wall tent. There will be condensation. And just wiping down anything that gets wet that I need to dry off or whatever. It's super light and absorbs a lot of water. All right, next up I got my toiletry kit with like toothbrush and toothpaste and hand sanitizer, soap, that kind of stuff. I have the Dr. Bronner biodegradable soap, so pretty small container of it. And then my first aid kit with a couple Band-Aids and some ibuprofen, Sudafed, anti-diarrhea, stuff like that. Not a whole lot, but the basics. Let's see, then I have these couple little bags. This has a Right in the Rain notebook and a bug head net, some aqua tabs in case my water filter breaks or freezes or something, and a compass. And I do know how to use it. I know a lot of people don't, so I think it's just cool to have a compass, and just in case you need it, you know, why not? And then this little kit has some rope and the first aid kit for my gear, some tent patches, sleeping pad patches, and some gear tape. So yeah. And lastly, we come to my electronics. I have 2 of these little power bricks, the 10,000 milliamp versions. I have one for my regular electronics to charge like my phone and my headlamp and things, and one for my camera gear, so we'll get to that in a sec. As far as actual electronics, I have this Anchor power brick with a couple different outlets. This is really heavy, but it has 3 different charging ports and it's really fast charging, so I think it'll be helpful, especially in town when I maybe have limited time. I can charge 3 things at the same time. Let's see, then I have the Nightcore headlamp, really bright, really lightweight. What else to say? And then I have the FlexTail Zero pump. A lot of people might give me flack about this, especially the ultralighters. This is not something I'm going to be getting rid of. I hate blowing up a sleeping pad, especially after a long day of hiking. So this, I can just plug into the pad and let it go for like 2 minutes, I think. And then the whole thing's fully blown up and I don't have to do a single thing. So this is great. And then I have some Shocks Open Run headphones, I believe. So these are bone conduction, and that way I can still hear what's going on around me and yeah, they sound good. It'll be nice to be able to listen to music or even use this to edit my videos or whatever. And then, not electronics, but I have this little Gerber dime. It's a tiny little folding knife. It has scissors, a pocket knife, a couple other little tools, and it weighs very, very little. So just kind of a lot of things that I might need along the trail in one small package. And the last category of gear today is the camera stuff. I'm going to be using the DJI Action 5 camera with this little mini tripod, and you can extend it out and kind of hold it and tilt it and everything. So I got a nice little selfie stick as well. Has really smooth footage. It's really nice so far. That's what I used for my hiking videos. I think the last one or two. To go along with that, I have the DJI Mic Mini. Has this tiny little case with a charging station. Unfortunately, you can't just plug the cable directly into it, but this will keep some of the cords organized and everything. I have a battery bank here with 3 separate batteries, so I should be able to record for several days without having to recharge. And then this thing can actually recharge the batteries once I plug them in, so I don't need to charge the camera itself. So I should have plenty of battery along with another battery bank specifically for camera gear. Hopefully this will last plenty of time between towns. And then the last thing, I just have this little card, which I thought was pretty neat to help keep track of your SD cards. So I'm not going to be mailing them home or uploading the stuff to the cloud or anything like that. I'm just going to keep all the SD cards here and really hope I don't lose this along the way. And then, of course, a dry bag just to keep it all safe. The last thing that I realized I forgot to mention earlier are my trekking poles. I have some Lucky trekking poles with cork handles. I've had these for forever, so hopefully they last the whole trip. They've lasted me pretty good for the last 10 years or so, and we'll see if we get another few out of them. So that should be pretty much all the gear that I'm bringing. There's some little things that I missed here and there. I am bringing the AT guide book. I know some people just tear pages out or just use far out, but I like having the physical book with me. It's just kind of something cool to look at and some tactile stuff and less screen time. So that should pretty much do it for most of the gear that I'm bringing. I'll put a link down below to an actual list online of each individual piece of gear, what its name and brand and all that stuff is, and the weights and everything, if you're curious about a specific piece. I think my base weight is around 23 pounds with just under 2 pounds of camera gear, so it's a little heavier than I would like, but it's not that bad. And again, that is with some of my winter gear and the layers and stuff that I'm bringing. I don't plan on keeping those the whole time, so that weight will go back down at some point, which hopefully will bring the base weight under 20 pounds, somewhere closer to 15, 16, something like that. But either way, I'm not really worried about the weight. It's just kind of a baseline to help see where everybody's at. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'm still going to get out there and do a shakedown hike in the near future, but this cold weather has been brutal recently, and I don't know if it's going to let up in time. So we'll see. If I don't get out there, then I will see you on the trail. Thanks for watching.